Dachau concentration camp was in existence from 1933 to 1945. Dachau was the first Nazi concentration camp that was opened in Germany to hold political prisoners. This camp opened in 1933 by Himmler, and they enforced labor. In this camp, there was 100 subcamps, which most of them consisted of being work camps. Later on, this camp started to imprison Jewish people, Australian criminals, foreign people trying to invade Germany. There were 32,000 documented deaths at Camp Dachau. This camp included an administration building for all the SS authorities, a large storage room for all the prisoners to put their personal belongings before entering the camp, a bunker to hide out at, a roll call square where guards would hurt the inmates and inflict different forms of punishment on them if they tried to escape the prison, a canteen where the guards would store their cigarettes and food, camp office, library, barracks, and an infirmary staffed by prisoners who were surgeons or physicians. As far as the prisoners themselves, they were all classified by different color badges. Political prisoners who got arrested wore red badges. Professional criminals who went to court wore green badges. Kripo prisoners arrested by the criminal police wore brown badges. Work-shy and asocial people sent by the welfare authorities or homosexuals sent by the criminal courts wore pink badges. Immigrants who were arrested wore a blue badge. Race polluters arrested by criminal courts wore badges with a black outline. Second-term criminals were arrested and wore a bar matching the color of their badge. Idiots wore a white armband with a label idiot on it. And Jews who were incarcerated in Dachau camp wore a yellow badge combined with another color. Camp Dachau was heavily guarded to make sure that no prisoners could escape alive. There was a 10-foot wide no man's land to make sure that none of the prisoners could escape. This was the first marker of confinement for the prisoners. This area was also guarded with guard towers and had guards up in them with lethal weapons to murder the victims. Sometimes prisoners choose to commit suicide by entering the no man's land. Next, if they made it past there, was an 8-foot wide creek which was 4 feet deep and it was connected to the river Amper. There was also an electrical charged barbed wire fence surrounding the camp. Prisoners were also used for medical experiments that were conducted at KZ Dachau. Due to this, many prisoners had died. Some of the experiments done on the prisoners were they were exposed to vats of icy water or being strapped naked outdoors in freezing temperatures. The victims suffered through a lot of pain, they foamed out of the mouth, and they lost consciousness. The original records for the experiments were destroyed. They did not want the American soldiers to see what had been going on in their camps, and they wanted to try to keep it all a secret or push it all under the rug to make sure that no one would ever figure out what happened during World War II. In 1945, U.S. troops marched into Bulgaria. The commander of Dachau suggested that camps should be turned over to the Allies. The chief of police prohibited this move. He said no prisoners shall be allowed to fall into the hands of the enemy alive. A few days before the United States Army made it to the camp, the commander and strong guards forced between 6,000 and 7,000 inmates on a death march. Many of these prisoners were shot or died on the 6-day march. Camp Dachau was eventually taken over by the United States Army. Once this had occurred, the United States Army had turned this into an internment camp. This was a holding place for all the surviving prisoners who were not yet trialed. Some of the buildings were converted into American military posts for many years. This included its own elementary school. Because there was a huge refugee crisis caused by the removal of the ethnic Germans, the camp was used to house 2,000 Germans from Czechoslovakia. Refugees were left in the camp from 1948 until the mid-1960s. During this time, former prisoners came together to extract a memorial on site of Camp Dachau. In 2003, the display was redone, and it will take visitors through a path of the camp. It includes a special presentation of some of the notable prisoners, and also 2 of the barracks were rebuilt during this time. One shows a cross-section of the history of the camp. The memorial also includes 4 chapels for the different religions practiced for former prisoners. The famous Iron Gate, which had a Nazi slogan on it saying, "Work sets you free," was stolen this year by an unknown person. There is no surveillance at Dachau, but it is monitored by private guards. Many people are offended by this theft and feeling that it was a huge symbol representing World War II and the memory of the Holocaust and all those who suffered and died. Now I'm going to take you on a virtual tour of all the areas in the surrounding area of Camp Dachau and some of the more secretive rooms inside. This here is a picture of the outside of the crematorium. As you enter inside, you will see 2 large ovens with a little stand to place the bodies on. Once then, the body is inserted into the ovens and then created into ashes. Here is the view of the roll call area mentioned in the beginning of the presentation. This was where the guards would hurt the inmates and inflict different forms of punishment on them for various reasons. Most of the time, this was used for prisoners who were trying to escape the camp. As you can see, the prisoners were not treated very well in Camp Dachau, but the prisoners did get the luxury of having bunks. Even though they were made out of wood, they were still something for them to sleep on. Also, here is an image of the toilets where the prisoners would use the restroom. There was no privacy whatsoever because the guards did not care about how the prisoners felt or their privacy. Thank you for watching my presentation on Camp Dachau. I hope you were informed about a lot of things that happened there.